Today we're crocheting a granny stitch tote, and this tote measures about 32 centimeters wide by 42.5 centimeters long. And I'll also let you know along the tutorial how you can adjust the size if you want. To find the free written pattern, you can go to vivcrochets.com or click on the link in the description box below. And if you do enjoy this tutorial, please leave a like or comment to let me know. Thanks so much, and let's get started. For this project, I'm using about 200 grams of Big Twist favorite cotton in the color cream, and this is a medium weight yarn. And you can use any yarn you want, but I would recommend you use cotton for a sturdier bag. And I'll also be using a 4.5mm hook, some scissors, a yarn needle, and some stitch markers. And if you don't have stitch markers, then you can just use bobby pins instead. First, we're going to make the base of the bag, and we're going to start with a slip knot. And to make a slip knot, place the yarn over your hand with the tail end at the bottom. Grab the yarn with your thumb, and make sure you have at least this long under your thumb. Grab the top and wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X. And then hold it with your pinky. And then with your hook, go under one side of the X, and then over and grab the other side, pull it through. Remove your fingers and tighten the knot. And now we're going to chain 39. And to chain, yarn over and pull through the loop on your hook. Again, yarn over, pull through. So there are our first 2 chains, and we're going to do a total of 39. So after our 39 chains, we can start round 1. First, we're going to do a double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook. So here's the first chain from the hook, here's the second, and here is the 3rd. And to do a double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into this chain. So it's sort of a sideways V. We're going to go in through the V and just under the top loop, like that. Then yarn over, pull through the chain, and you should have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And there's our first double crochet. And we're going to do another double crochet into this chain again. So yarn over, insert your hook back into this chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So now this chain has 2 double crochets, and we're going to do 1 more for a total of 3. So now this chain has a total of 3 double crochets, and then we're going to chain 1. And we're going to skip the next 3 chains. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Then in the next, we're going to do 3 double crochets again. So yarn over, go over, insert your hook into that chain, and do a double crochet. Again, after our 3 double crochets here, we chained 1, and then we skipped 3 chains, and we did 1 double crochet into the next one. And then we're going to do 2 more double crochets into this same chain for a total of 3. So now this chain has 3 double crochets, and we can chain 1 again, and then skip 3. So 1, 2, 3, and in this next chain we'll do 3 double crochets. And this is what we're going to repeat all the way across our chain. So let's do that one more time. Again, we're going to chain 1, skip 3 chains, and in the next we'll do 3 double crochets. And then we'll repeat that all the way across. And once we get to the end of the chain, we should have 4 left. We can chain 1, skip the next 3, and in the very final chain, we can do 3 double crochets. And then after our 3 double crochets into the final chain, we're going to chain 2, and into that last chain, that same chain, we're going to do another 3 double crochets. So go back into your last chain and do 3 more double crochets. And then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets into this chain. So now this is what we have. We just worked across the chain, and then in the very last chain we did 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And now that naturally rotates the foundation chain for us to start working along the underside. And from now on, we're going to be working into the same spaces, the same chains that we put our 3 double crochets into, just on the opposite side. And this is where the pattern that we repeated earlier starts again. So again, the pattern is chain 1, skip over these 3 chains, and then in this chain we'll do 3 double crochets. Again, it repeats, chain 1, skip over these 3 chains, and in this chain we'll do 3 double crochets. And we're going to continue repeating that pattern until we reach the end. And once we reach the end, after our 3 double crochets into this chain, we're going to chain 1, and go back into the very first chain that we went into and do 3 double crochets. And then just like on this side, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 3 more double crochets into this chain again. And then we're going to chain 2, and we'll slip stitch to the very first double crochet that we made. So that's going to be the first double crochet of these 3 right here. You can see at the top of each double crochet there's a V. So this one here, this one here, and then this one here. We're going to go to the very first one we made, all the way on the right, and go under the V at the top, and do a slip stitch. So we'll yarn over, pull through and pull through the loop on our hook and tighten it. Now our very first round is done, and we should have a total of 22 of these clusters. So a cluster is just 3 double crochets into 1 stitch. So that's 1 cluster, 2, 3, 4, and you should have a total of 22 all the way around. So you can see round 1 looks like a rectangle now, and these are the 4 corners where we did the chain 2s. And now we can start round 2. To start round 2, we're going to turn. So we just slip stitch to the first stitch of round 1, and instead of continuing to work towards the left, we're going to turn like this, and we're going to start working the other way around. And first we're going to slip stitch into this space right here. So again, to slip stitch, insert your hook into this space, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook, and this time you don't have to tighten it. We're only tightening it at the end of the round. Next, we're going to chain 2. And in this space that we slip stitch to, we're going to do 3 double crochets. So yarn over and go into this space and do a double crochet. So there's 1, and we're going to do a total of 3 into this space. So now this space has a cluster, and then we're going to skip over to this chain space here. And every time we skip over a cluster, so we're going to skip over this entire cluster and start working in here, we're going to chain 1. Then we can skip over this cluster, and we're going to do 3 double crochets into here. And this chain space is the corner of our rectangular base, so we do need to chain 2 and do 3 more double crochets into the same space. So the 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets forms the new corner. And we're going to do that in each of the 4 corner spaces on our base. But you'll notice that we didn't do that in the first space, but that's when we come back around and we'll finish the corner. So now we're going to be working along the side of our base, and again, every time we skip over a cluster, we're going to chain 1, start working into the next chain space, and in the chain space, we'll just do 3 double crochets. Like that. And then we'll skip over this cluster, so we'll chain 1, skip to this next space, and do 3 double crochets. And we're going to repeat this all the way across until we reach the next corner. So after going across, we're going to reach the corner, and after our 3 double crochets here, we'll chain 1, and then we're going to do 3 double crochets into the corner, and then since it's a corner, we're going to chain 2, and then do 3 more double crochets into the same space. And then since we're skipping this cluster, we'll chain 1 and then reach the next corner space where we'll do 3 double crochets. Chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. And that forms our next corner. And now we can work along the side like normal. We'll chain 1 and do 3 double crochets into each of these spaces. And after going across the side, we should end up back where we started in the very first corner space we worked into. And like I said in the beginning, we didn't complete this corner space, so now we're going to complete it. So first, we're going to chain 1, skip over this cluster, and in this corner, we'll do 3 double crochets. And then we'll chain 2. And we can slip stitch to the very first double crochet we made. Again, look for the very first double crochet we made. At the top there's a V. We'll go under it, yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook, and tighten. And there is our second round. And now you should have a total of 26 clusters in this round. And now my base is about 27 centimeters wide and about 5.5 centimeters deep. So this is a good size for my base, but if you do want a bigger base, you can repeat the last round until you get the size you want. But once you're ready to start the body of the bag, we're going to turn. So instead of continuing to work this way, we're going to turn. And then we're going to chain 2. And we're going to do 3 double crochets into this chain space here. And then we're going to repeat the pattern we've been repeating by just chaining 1 and doing 3 double crochets into the next chain space. And we'll continue repeating that, chain 1 and do 3 double crochets into the next chain space. So like that. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. So even in the corner spaces, we're only doing 3 double crochets, and then we'll chain 1 and move on to the next space. So every single chain space in this round, it's only going to have 3 double crochets, and we'll also have a chain 1 in between each cluster. So I've just finished my 3 double crochets going all the way around, and we're going to chain 1 and we're going to slip stitch to the very first double crochet of this round over here. And for your entire body, the number of clusters in each round should not change from 26 clusters. And you can see that it starts to curl like this, which is good because now we're building the height of the body. Now we finished our first round of the body and we can start the second round. And the entire body is just repeating the last round that we just did, so let's do it again. We're going to turn, chain 2, and do 3 double crochets into this first chain space. chain 1 and do 3 double crochets into the next chain space. Then repeat, so chain 1, 3 double crochets into every single chain space. And after the last 3 double crochets into the last chain space, we're going to chain 1 and then slip stitch to the first stitch we made this round. And there's our second round of the body, and we're going to continue repeating this round until we get the height of the body that we want. And since we're turning after every round, sometimes you'll be working from the outside and sometimes you'll be working from the inside. So I prefer working from the outside, so every time I turn, I'm going to flip my bag like this so I can work from the outside. So as you work, you can just flip the bag back and forth. And again, we're just going to keep going until we get the height of the bag we want, and you can do as many or as little rounds as you want. And if you do choose to do a different number of rounds for the body, make sure that you do an even number. So here I've just finished doing a total of 24 rounds. So I did 2 rounds for the base and then 22 rounds for the body. So right now the total width is about 32 centimeters. And then the total length is about 25 centimeters. Adding the straps will add on about 18 or so centimeters to the top. So now we can start on these straps. First, we're going to make sure that the bag is flipped, so our last round was worked from the inside of the bag. So from the inside, like that. If you work the last round from the outside, then make sure you turn your bag inside out. And now we can fasten off. And to fasten off, we're going to chain 1, and then we'll cut our yarn about this long. Pull through with our hook and tighten the knot. Next, we're going to mark out the start and end of the straps. So we're going to flatten the bag along the foundation chain, so make sure it's even. And you should have a total of 13 clusters on this side and 13 clusters on the other side. And then we're going to find the center cluster. So here's my first and then my 13th cluster. And we're going to move in until we have 5 left in the middle. So I'll move in a cluster and then in. And now these are our 5 clusters in the center. And we're going to mark these 2 chain spaces on either end. So with your stitch marker, we're going to mark this chain space, and then we'll mark this other chain space. So we have these 2 marked, and we have 5 clusters in the middle. Then we're going to flip it, and we'll do the same on this side. It should match up, so we're going to mark this one and this one. Now we have 4 of these spaces marked, and we're going to be working our straps one at a time. So one strap will be worked from this stitch marker around and then to this stitch marker, and then we'll go back and forth in rows. And then after we finish one strap, we can do the same on this side. So now we're going to attach the yarn for our first strap. And you can face either side, but we're going to attach our yarn to the left stitch marker. And you can attach it however you like, but I'm going to attach it using a slip knot. So I'm going to make a slip knot. But before I tighten the loop on my hook, I'm going to take it off the hook and just hold on to it with my finger. And then go over to this chain space, the one on the left, and we're going to insert our hook into the chain space, like that, put the loop back on our hook and tighten it, then pull the loop through the chain space. So not all the way, just until the slip knot is through, and then we can chain 3. and take the stitch marker out. And now our yarn is attached, and now we can continue with our first row. So instead of working into this chain space, we're going to move on to the next one and do 3 double crochets. And then we're going to continue the pattern like normal, just doing chain 1 and 3 double crochets in the next chain space. And we're going to continue around until we reach the next stitch marker. And once we've done our 3 double crochets into the chain space before the stitch marker, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do just 1 double crochet into the chain space with the stitch marker. And then we can take the stitch marker out. And here is row 1. For row 2, we're going to chain 2 and then turn. And we're going to do our 3 double crochets into the first chain space just below our 2 chains. And then we're going to chain 1 and do 3 double crochets into the next chain space. And then we're going to repeat chain 1, double crochet 3 in the next chain space all the way around this side. And our final 3 double crochet cluster is going into the final chain space. And there is row 2. Now for row 3, we're going to chain 3 and then turn. And then we're going to start working into the next chain space and do 3 double crochets. And we're going to continue the pattern like normal, except we're going to skip the chain space all the way on the side. So this chain space right here, we're not going to work into it. So let's do chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain space. And then once more. And once we reach this chain space that's all the way on the side of the bag, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to completely skip over this chain space and start working into this chain space. So now it's like that in the middle. And we'll just continue the row like normal. And after doing 3 double crochets into the final chain space of this row, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do a double crochet all the way on the left side. And we're going to do it between the chain 2 turning chain and the first double crochet of the last row. So in this space here. So there's 3 double crochets on the right and then the chain 2 on the left. And we'll do just 1 double crochet. And there is our 3rd row. And in this row we did skip a chain space right here. And we are going to skip the center chain space, or the chain space all the way on the edge, every 3rd row. So row 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. And that's going to make the strap curve towards the middle. For row 4, we're going to repeat the 2nd row. So this row right here, we're going to chain 2 and turn. And we'll do 3 double crochets into the first chain space. And chain 1 and do 3 double crochets into each space around. And this row just ends with a 3 double crochet cluster into the final chain space. So there is row 4. Now row 5 is just a repeat of row 3. So we're going to chain 3 and turn and do 3 double crochets into the first chain space. And chain 1, 3 double crochets into each chain space. And remember, we did skip the center chain space for row 3, but since this is row 5 and it's not a multiple of 3, we're not going to skip any chain spaces for this row. And then the end of this row after our final cluster, we'll chain 1 and do a double crochet in between the 3 double crochets and the chain 2 turning chain from the last row. So there is row 5, and now we're just going to continue alternating between rows 2 and 3. So every even row is going to be a repeat of row 2, and then every odd row is going to be a repeat of row 3. And remember, we are going to skip the chain space on the side for every third row. So next row is row 6, which is an even row, so we're repeating row 2, and it's a multiple of 3, so we're going to skip this chain space on the edge. So again, repeat of row 2, we'll chain 2 and turn and do 3 double crochets into the first chain space, and repeat the chain 1 double crochet 3 in the next chain space pattern. And then once we reach this chain space on the edge, so this one here, we're going to chain 1, skip over it, and start working into this next chain space. And it looks like that. And then we'll just continue. And there is row 6. And now I'll let you continue doing the straps on your own. So again, we're going to be alternating between rows 2 and 3. In every third row, we're going to skip the edge space. And I am going to do a total of 20 rows for my strap. So if you do want a shorter strap, you can do fewer rows. And if you want a longer strap, you can do more rows. So here I have the 20 rows of my strap, and measuring straight down from here, it's about 22 centimeters long, but it will connect with the other strap like this. And if you're happy with the width and the length of your strap, we can fasten off. So to fasten off, we're going to chain 1, and then instead of doing a regular length, we are going to make it about double that length so we can use it to sew this strap to the next strap that we'll make. So I'll cut off about this long and then pull through with our hook and tighten the knot. And now that our first strap is done, we can start on the second strap. And the next strap is going to be the exact same as the first strap. We're going to start on this side with the stitch marker right here on the left. So not here where it's on the right side. We'll attach our yarn and work back and forth, repeating these exact same rows and doing the exact same number, which was 20 total rows. And for the second strap, since we fasten off with a long loose end here, we can fasten off with a regular loose end on our second strap. Once we complete both straps, we can sew them together. So we're going to use the long loose end that we left, and we're going to thread it into our yarn needle And then we're going to turn the bag and put the ends together so that our loose end is at the right side and we can work right to left. So we're going to do the whip stitch through each stitch on both ends. First we'll start with the stitch all the way on the right side. We'll go over to the strap further from us and go into that stitch all the way on the right side, like that, and then over to the closer side and under that stitch all the way on the right. Then we'll pull the yarn through, and then we'll go into the next stitch on the further strap, and then into the next stitch on the closer strap, and pull the yarn through. And then we'll continue with the next stitches. And then we have the chain space, so we can just go through the chain spaces. And then we'll connect the last 3 stitches. And then at the end, we still need to tie a knot to make sure that the seam doesn't come undone. And since we have this loose end right here, we can just tie them both together with a double knot. And now the straps are connected. And now the last thing to do with our bag is to weave in our loose ends. So let's take our yarn needle and one of our loose ends here and thread it into our yarn needle. And then to hide our loose ends, we're going to weave the yarn needle under the loops of our stitches. So let's just go through these clusters here. We'll go under these loops across. So just go under any loops like that. And make sure your yarn needle isn't poking through completely on the other side. Pull the yarn through. And then make sure it's taut. And then we can go up and go under more loops. Pull the yarn through, and then we can go towards the right under these loops. And then we can do that one more time and try to use up the rest of our loose end. So I'm just going to go under any loops I can. Then pull the yarn through. Make sure it's not too tight. And we can trim off the rest of the loose end. And now that loose end is hidden, and we can do that for the rest of our loose ends. And now our bag is complete. And that's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Also, a quick shout out to channel members Amarachi, Namita, Kayla, Taylor, Veronica, Casey, Allison, Eilish, Nadine, Joy, and Stacy. You can become a member of this channel and have these little yarn ball badges next to your name whenever you comment, and other perks such as member shoutouts, early access to new videos, discount codes from my Etsy, help with any of my patterns, and connecting on social media. Thank you again to all my channel members, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.